Right, today we are going to be talking about a very common problem, rising damp because of a bridge damp-proof course. Now this damp-proof course can be bridged by many things. And we're going to go through this at the end. But more importantly, you as a homeowner, you need to ask the correct questions initially. So if you're going to be ringing a damp expert, a surveyor or what have you, or even emailing them, you need to ask the specific questions, because what normally happens is in the reports it basically says you have asked for a non-invasive survey or non-intrusive, either. But this is where it goes wrong. So at the end of the video I'm going to tell you the questions you need to ask. If they can't answer these questions, you've done yourself a favour, because you can move on and ask the next person until you get the desired outcome. So stay tuned, stay to the end. These things you can copy and paste. I'll put some descriptions on the below for it as well, and go from there. So in this picture you can see within the cavity where it's brown, you've got debris. Now that debris is actually bypassing the damp-proof course, and you can see the blue line, which is the moisture line, where there's rising damp coming up and passing through there. Such a common problem. So this is bridging by mortar in the cavity, this is by debris from when it was originally built, or dare I say sometimes people chuck a bit of rubbish down when they're changing windows or what have you. So in this one here you can see it's a solid wall property, and you can just see the moisture in the blue again is rising and just wicking up over the pointing on the external wall. Probably don't see this one as often as the other ones, but nonetheless it still occurs. Very common, the damp-proof course is being bridged by the external render. So again you can see the blue line, which is the way the moisture is going, so you can literally cut that render back, level with the damp-proof course, form a bell mouth to drip any water away. Bob's your uncle, job done. This has got to be one of the most common problems I come across. The damp-proof course is being bridged by a path outside, maybe high ground levels because somebody's put a big flower bed there. It is such a common problem. Quite simple to repair if it's just earth. Obviously if it's concrete, need a lot of cutting equipment. I have got some other blogs on stuff like this and some videos which you can have a look at on YouTube. Right, so in this one here you can see the damp-proof course is actually being bridged by the floor screed, but it could also be the concrete floor, because not all floors have a screed, especially in older properties. So again, quite a common problem. You can see the blue line where the moisture is rising into the floor and then back up, bypassing a damp-proof course where it's being bridged. So in this one here you can see the plastering has been taken down past the damp-proof course. This is probably one of the most commonest ones I see, and you can see the blue line there where it's just showing the moisture where it's rising and just bypassing and bridging a damp-proof course. Right, as you can see here is a screenshot of the British standard, so it's BS 6576. This is the code of practice for diagnosis of rising damp in walls of buildings and installation of chemical damp-proof courses. Now what is really important about that is it gives away what you need to do to eliminate causes, and it talks about moisture meters. What it states is, when inspecting a structure for signs of rising damp, it is essential to take into account the possible presence of other sources of dampness. Even if the instructions given are limited to detection of rising damp, other problems should be highlighted if they are present and reasonably obvious. Note 1. Visual observations both externally and internally are important and can provide much of the information needed to arrive at a preliminary diagnosis. Nevertheless, a full understanding of the distribution of dampness in a structure can require the use of various moisture measuring techniques. Surveyors need to be familiar with the use of such equipment and the interpretation of the results from them.
An electrical moisture meter, which is a damp meter, is a useful diagnostic instrument. It can be used to discriminate between different explanations for damp conditions and non-destructive. The readings it gives are qualitative. Surface moisture measurements alone cannot give proof of rising damp, so further evidence may, where permitted, be obtained by disruptive examination and measurements taken within the depth of the wall. Chemical or gravimetric methods can be used, and generally moisture contents in excess of 5% wet weight in mortar joints at the base of the wall will indicate the need for further investigation. Gravimetric tests give more detail but require samples to be removed to a laboratory for testing. Chemical tests on site can only show total moisture content. So this is what needs to be eliminated. All other possible causes of damp conditions should be located. Particular attention should be paid to A. Condensation, B. Lateral penetration associated with changes of floor and ground level, C. Leaks from roofs, gutters and downpipes, D. Faulty drains, E. Internal plumbing leaks, F. Water penetration through external walls, G. Water penetration around windows, frames and doors, H. Mortar droppings or debris within cavities, I. History of flooding. So BS 6576 references carbide meter and gravimetric testing. So this is in BRE Digest 245, Rising Damp in Walls Diagnosis and Treatment. And here you can see there's a screenshot of the image of the front page.
Right, I hope you're not too bored. Hopefully you've gained some value out of it. So now you know quite a lot of the common problems. So you can see these problems cannot be viewed from just looking at the wall. You're going to have to cut a little bit of skirting board off, expose the floor and wall junction to see if anything is bridging a damp proof course. Perhaps you're going to have to drill a hole in the cavity and put a borescope in there and look for any debris. These are the sort of things we do, a very common part of the survey. So these are called invasive, intrusive surveys. What you don't want is a non-invasive survey. You've now got BS 6576, BRE Digest 245. 6576 tells you the stuff you need to eliminate, or your surveyor needs to eliminate. That is the questions you need to ask them. You want all of this eliminated to find the root cause. BRE Digest 245, it basically states in there about using gravimetrics or carbide meters. Carbide meters are really good. They have a couple of limitations, which I will put a link in the description below so you can have a read of that. Take you to my website. So now you've got all this information, you know the questions you have to ask your damp surveyor. Right, so why does BS 6576 recommend further testing by gravimetrics and carbide testing, as in BRE Digest 245? It's because these things, these damp meters, they are amazing, brilliant bits of kit, but they can't always give you the answers you need. So if you've got some penetrating damp coming in from high up and you can ping this on the wall and you're getting a few high readings, yeah, it's telling you it's damp. But what you've got to remember, if you're taking a profile of moisture, which is a quantitative reading, this is qualitative as per BS 6576, which it states in there, what you can actually determine is moisture profiling. So you can say you've got more moisture at the base of the wall and it's dropping off, or rising damp is there and it's not. I would say go one further as well and do salt testing. The reason I say that is because I deal with lots of buildings that are flooded, whether that's some drains, leaks or what have you, and what I tend to find is somebody's gone in there and said, oh yeah, you got all rising damp. So they've missed the actual root cause initially and then they've replastered it, what have you. But what you can also find is when you go there, the actual plaster doesn't need removing. It's not salt contaminated like people presumed, just because you're getting a few high readings. And then you think to yourself, well, the simple answer is you fix the root cause, maybe the drain or the leak or what have you, and then you dry it down. So typically on that sort of stuff, we use a bit of Coraventa desiccant drying equipment. After a few weeks time, it's dried down, paint it, job done. That is why, whilst these are fantastic, you have to go down other routes to make sure you get the correct diagnosis every time. And if you've got any questions, drop them in the comments below. Subscribe, hit the bell icon. I've got some really interesting stuff coming. I've got to finish editing these videos about some cavity stuff. Water's coming in everywhere, but if you're a trainee, homeowner, even a surveyor, you might find these of interest. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.